Good morning, Raymond. Good morning, Anymore.
Morning.
Good morning.
And how are we doing this morning?
I am fine, but the banking sector doesn't sound and look like the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but it looks like the Bank of Ghana is on top of issues.
Yeah.
As far as keeping the sector together is concerned, forthcoming with
Yes.
information, swift with action. Yeah.
Retroactively, yes.
Tough times, but necessary.
Very,
Yes.
very necessary. Nima, let
Okay, I'm
me begin
gonna
with
start.
you. The daily guide.
Okay, daily guide. So Jean Mensa is EC boss. You can't hang me, says President. Access Bank meets 400 million Ghana cedi minimum capital. Chinwe Hesse is the new UG chancellor, and 5 banks crash. Bank of Ghana takes over with Consolidated Bank.
The new crusading guide is reporting this morning, I'm too clean to be hanged for corruption. President Akufo-Addo tells conspiring political opponents, and that's the biggest story on the front page. The rest, I'm sure we know.
The Chronicle, national security turns land guards, invade private property with police SWAT team. Also, Akufo-Addo's corruption is not in my DNA story trending, as well as the 5 banks which have collapsed.
And the collapse of these banks are on the front page of Today too. The other story you should be interested in is NDC MPs in dogfight over Mahama endorsement. And the minority leader's picture is on the front page. It says an independent arbiter. As leader, he can't take sides.
Ghanaian Times, new Ameri deal is a complete ripoff. That's according to the minority. President slams political opponents for desperate attempts to tag him and his family as corrupt, and also the local bank story.
Now, the Business Finder is reporting this morning, and we have number 18. My good friend, 1D1F, 15 projects okayed,
Okay.
not completed.
Not
Okay.
completed.
Yes, and that's on the front page of Business Finder.
So that's the 18th time we've been told something.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, now, and the auditors are key to graft fights, and graft is political corruption in this particular case. That's what's been reported by the Auditor General's office. Yes.
Sorry, front page of the Daily Statesman, the same stories trending. I knew Ameri deal is off. Yeah, that was also on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. So,
You
yes.
mean the Daily Statesman? Okay, yeah. So the same stories.
Yes.
Then. Oh,
So
right.
as people struggle to get stories on the front page, let me bring you Daily Graphic. It has some stories that you should be interested in on the back page too. Sino Hydro deal to be used for infrastructure development, and Ghana issued accreditation to inspect certified fish products for export, and that's on the back page. The only story you should be interested in on the front page, apart from the ones you've heard, is Interplus is unveiling new irrigation technology. And this is to help make sure that we have all year-round farming in the country.
The in-green system.
Yeah.
Finally, from me, the Free Press, tsunami at Ghana Bauxite Company, almost $100 million pocketed. Cholera looms at Sege, and we are not promoting LGBTI rights. That's from Astila.
Sege.
Sege.
It's like you won't say saga, but
Yeah.
Sege.
Oh gosh. Sege. All right.
Thank you, Raymond, for that education. But let's begin with the banking sector, of course. The biggest story today, Ray. Let's do it this way. How did we get here, and what has happened now?
Okay, what we know has happened is that the Bank of Ghana has revoked the licenses of Unibank Ghana Limited, the Royal Bank, Beige Bank, Sovereign Bank, and Construction Bank Limited, and has appointed Mr. Ni Amano Dodu of KPMG as the receiver for the 5 banks. The receivers actually manage the loss and assets of these banks. Now, the central bank has also in turn granted a universal banking license to Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited, established by the government to consolidate the 5 banks as part of efforts to restore confidence and trust in our banking system. This is also to protect the depositors. You know, there's a Depositors Protection Act which we put together in 2016, which mandates that some of these things be done. Now, what brought these banks where they are today? Pretty simple. The briefest you can get is that let's start with Beige Bank. The bank is saying that they obtained their licenses under false pretenses through the use of suspicious and non-existing capital. The same with Sovereign Bank, and they also obtained their license under false pretense and the use of suspicious and non-existing capital. The Royal Bank had non-performing loans constituting 78.9% of their total loans granted, i.e., they were not able to collect almost 80% of the loans that they gave virtually everybody that took loans from them. And of course, they could not service those loans too. And the same thing to do with the Construction Bank Limited, and that's a fairly new bank. It was launched not long ago, but it obtained their banking license under false pretenses through the use of suspicious and the other word the bank lies using is non-existing capital. For Unibank, the bank said they had a capital deficit of 7.4 billion compared to the regulatory minimum of 400 million. And we know that Unibank got management from KPMG in 6 months to turn around the fortunes of the bank. But the Bank of Ghana says that after the KPMG audits, even the bank was shocked at the extent of problem, and it could not be. He said it was not possible for it to be saved. So there was no way Unibank could be rehabilitated. That was the word that the Bank of Ghana used in this press release. So the only eventual end is to put it through the process that we find it coming now.
So it seems like there are some similarities in two sets of the banks. Three of them obtained their licenses under false pretenses. Interesting, those are the three fairly new banks. The Beige Bank, Construction Bank, and
the Sovereign Bank.
And Sovereign Bank.
Yes.
And with the other two banks, that's Unibank and Royal Bank, if I can put it simply, they didn't have enough money if you compare to the amount of loans that they had given out. So their liabilities versus their assets.
Yeah.
Right. But Raymond, tell us, how is government fixing this problem?
Okay, so government is trying to, it has provided financial support through the issuance of a bond. This bond is $1.25 million, but 5.76 billion. See, it's 1.25 billion actually dollars, but it's 5.76 billion US dollars towards the purchase and assumption.
It's 5.76 billion Ghana cedis.
Yes.
And 1.25 billion US dollars.
Yes, wonderful. A purchase and assumption agreement under which the Consolidated Bank Ghana Limited has acquired all deposits and other liabilities and also good assets of the 5 banks. Now, this will have a major impact on the public debt and fiscal management, even though it might not contribute to a fiscal deficit immediately. For public debt,
what's the weight of the impact?
Because this is 5.76 more. Look at the last 3 months. The kind of Eurobond we've taken, what they call the bonds we've taken, this is like almost 80% of the bonds we are looking at.
80% of the bonds we have taken.
So we're taking 2, 1.5, and also 2 again within the last few months.
So basically, put together, it is more than all the bonds we've taken this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put it,
if you want to take it in a bond state,
yes. So that's how serious the situation is. You do recall that similar bonds were given for other institutions to
UT and Capital Bank.
Yes, in this particular case. Now we know.
So interestingly, Raymond, if you put the 2.4 billion we took for UT and Capital Bank together with the 5.7 billion we're taking for these 5 banks, we have 8.1 billion.
Yes,
8.1 billion
to save banks and restore confidence in the financial sector. Some are also saying that the impact would have been very serious. And already we're feeling the impact. Ask those who established letters of credit in the various funds for these banks. It was not happening. The trust that even the IMF and other international institutions were giving us. We went to the IMF basically for policy credibility.
Yeah.
We needed to have an institution say that government of Ghana and Ghana is on the right track. Some of these things were making it impossible for us to have those because the banks, they engage international institutions. It was becoming close to unreasonable for us to have those transactions happening. So this is how government is trying to stabilize the sector and make sure that if you still had your money in the bank, you will not be told that you can't access your money at all. So that's the measure that's
But you see, another question is, how do we get to this point where we have to pay this money in the first place?
Because, one, you regulate the system. And when people tell you, so in simple terms, some of these banks told lies about which money they had or did not have. They took monies that were supposed to be you and I, our money we went to deposit at the banks, used it for other things, and in some cases, gave it to sister companies to do other things with the money. And most of the time, they couldn't retrieve it. So for a bank like the Royal Bank that had almost 80% of non-performing loans, it only meant that if they are they're giving money to, if they gave 100, all that the money they had was 100 cedi. 80 cedi of the 100 cedi cannot be accounted for.
You know one worrying thing in all of this for me? I'm going to read a part of the Bank of Ghana governance statement. It's here under the section where he was talking about Unibank. The statement was talking about Unibank. It says there, the official administrator appointed for Unibank in March 2018 has found that the bank is beyond rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Shareholders, related and connected parties had taken amounts totaling 3.7 billion Ghana cedis, which were neither granted through the normal credit delivery process nor reported as part of the bank's loan portfolio. In addition, amounts totaling 1.6 billion Ghana cedis had been granted to shareholders, related and connected parties in forms of loans and advances without due processes and in breach of relevant provisions of Act 930. So here we are, persons who own the company, shareholders and other related parties So persons who own the party, the company, persons who know people who own the company, go in and take money without due process. Now the money they're taking is depositors' money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's
what
not as if it's their
happens-
capital that they put into the bank.
Exactly.
They have
so what
eroded
happens
that.
to these people?
Okay, so the
What
Bank of
happens to
Ghana
these
is saying
people
that
who take this money?
the question is answered in the FAQs. It says, what happens to the old shareholders of the banks? It says that the shareholders will only be entitled to any remaining assets of their respective banks after all creditors left in the receivership have received settlements by the receiver. So if every other person the bank owes is paid, then if there's additional money or something left, then the shareholders can get something.
But you see,
The directors is what is important in this case because they take decisions for the bank, the board in this case. What the Bank of Ghana is saying is that they will be investigated, and this we heard it during the other collapse too. They will be investigated. Those found culpable, and there has been stated breaches of specific law. If you go through the process, the Banking and the Special Deposit Taking Institutions Law, Act 930, the Bank of Ghana quotes specific provisions that have been breached by these directors, and they say these are the people that will take on for deliberately pursuing this path.
because it's quite disturbing. Besides, we'll be going into more detail during the show. But Raymond, just to wrap up, how many local banks do we have now?
Okay, so the local bank situation is whittling down by the day. Now, let's look at it this way. We do have 8 local banks, which have become 2 banks in addition to what we know happened to UT and Capital, which are already part of the GCB. We are likely to end up with 20, mostly 20. If we are hearing that
You mean 20 banks in all?
yes, the difficulty is that we are hearing that there's going to be more of these likely to happen.
More restructuring?
Yes, if it happens, we may not exceed the 25 that we have. But the local bank situation is ended up below 5 as we have it to be.
So
now.
we don't have up to 5 local banks?
Yes, currently, with
Okay.
all the restructuring and the possible restructuring going to happen in the near
future.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So that's basically a wrap of what has happened in the banking sector
And whilst
from
you're talking
yesterday.
about this, there's still an ongoing GN Bank, Sahel Sarah Bank, and Premium Bank engagement. You know
yeah.
the conversation around
There's
that,
there's a possible merger
Yes,
in there.
that particular
Yeah. So like we said, we'll be delving more into detail in this. Emmanuel Esiedu Mante, former Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, will be joining us. Ken Thompson of Dalex Finance will also be joining us, and of course Philip of Joy Business will also be here to help us unpack all of these issues. Anymore, one issue that may just have slipped under the radar, Ameri.
Yes. So the Statesman is reporting that they've picked up some news within the presidency that the new Ameri deal is off and will not see the light of day. So it has emerged that the president was misled into giving his executive approval under the guise that there was an urgent need for it to be laid in Parliament. So when the president got back from the 53rd session of the ECOWAS Heads of State, he asked for another briefing. He received that briefing, and upon receiving that briefing, he realized, this is according to the Statesman, that what he had given his approval for lacked the requisite input from the Attorney General and the finance minister. Also, the economic management team met on Tuesday, and the outcome of that meeting is that the deal is not a good one and is not favorable for Ghana. It will also be discussed at Cabinet today, perhaps so that a final decision can be gotten to. On July 26th, the government
Be arrived at.
be gotten to. Yeah. On July 26th, the government sought to lay a revised agreement, but members from both sides of the House opposed it. So there's been a lot of opposition with this deal, and it looks like it will not happen.
Yeah, interesting one coming in there. We'll be keeping our eye on that, particularly during the day, to get the full details of that. But Elima, let me stay with you because we have a new electoral commission.
Yes. So yesterday, President Akufo-Addo administered the oath of office to the new chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Adukwe-Mensah, also and her 2 deputies. It's interesting because President Akufo-Addo declared that he neither wants his party, he nor his party, to have a hand in the activities of the EC. He said that our only interest to have an electoral commission that organizes credible and transparent elections. We do not want electoral victories handed to us by officials of the Electoral Commission.
Before you move on, let's hear the president.
Which resulted in the removal from office of the 3 persons was an instance of the rule of law at work. Neither my party nor I had any hand in the proceeding. Our only interest is to have an electoral commission that organizes credible, transparent elections. We do not want electoral victories handed to us by officials of the Electoral Commission. We want electoral victories handed to us by the people of Ghana.
So congratulations to the 4 new persons.
Yes.
But that's not all.
Yes, on behalf of her colleagues, Jean Mensah expressed profound gratitude to the president, the government, and the people of Ghana for the honor that has been done to them.
Let's hear Jean Mensah now.
We are aware of the huge responsibility and the weight of expectation that comes with the assumption of these high offices. But we are prepared. We acknowledge the good work of our predecessors, and we will strive to build on their achievements. In doing so, we will count on the support and experiences of the staff. With God being our helper, we will work with the parliament, the political parties, judiciary, civil society, and the media to build an electoral commission that this nation can depend on to uphold its sovereign will and the right to choose its leaders.
So again, congratulations to the 4 of them, but they are not the only persons for whom congratulations are in order.
Yes, a massive congratulations to Mrs. Chinwe Hesse, who has become the first female chancellor of the University of Ghana. She takes over from Mr. Kofi Annan. So she dedicated her election to the high office to Ghanaian women, and she says we have together a responsibility to ensure that women's voices are no longer muted or no longer remain muted. So congratulations to you, Madam, and of course she is an old student of the Wesley Girls High School.
I'm
so from all of us, can I finish my from all of us, old students, present students, future students, you've made us proud, and we continue to walk in the light.
Please,
Yeah.
have you finished?
Finished.
Have you finished? Thank you, Raymond.
Anyway,
You left Raymond speechless for a moment.
The things that I wanted to say, but but I'm looking forward to the day that Chama Rawlings will be made what they call it, Chancellor of the University. Because when I see the University of Ghana, when I look at the buildings named after former president, there's Lehman Hall, there's what they call it, so many other names, Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, the Kwame Nkrumah Institute of African Studies. Of course, Kwame Nkrumah is a big one.
Of course.
But I am yet to see the hall for Jerry John Rawlings, and I think it's only fair and proper.
Why don't you build one and name it after him?
I don't have the resource. I would have done. We are looking forward to the day that Jerry John Rawlings will also spring up.
I think we should set up a committee to inquire about
Well,
why
yeah.
that
has not happened.
Yes.
Yes, it's very, very insightful. Thank you, guys. But let's go online. And the online news review is brought to you by Zenith Bank. In your best interest, Goyle Good Energy. Download the Safe Doctor app now from the Google Play. Safe Doctor, the future of better medical care. Ghana's #1 indigenous oil marketing company, Goyle gives you innovation that takes you further. The new Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. These expertly crafted lubricants work excellently with all modern petrol and diesel engines, provide superior cleaning and protection, reduces fuel consumption, prolongs oil change intervals, and enhanced engine performance. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Engineering innovation for your vehicle has arrived and is available at all over 330 Goyle filling stations. Goyle Good Energy. Now is the time to own a Zenith MasterCard. Apply for a Zenith MasterCard debit or prepaid card from any Zenith Bank branch nationwide and enjoy 2 great things: no issuance fee and a chance to receive a gift of a prepaid card with a preloaded amount of the CD equivalent of $50. Isn't this exciting? Don't be left out. Sign up for your Zenith MasterCard debit or prepaid card today. Offer is available to account and non-account holders. Terms and conditions apply. Zenith Bank, in your best interest. MyJoyOnline.com says, Mahama boys using deceit to get support. Nabu wants minority leadership to act. Joseph Bipoba Nabu, Member of Parliament for Yonyo constituency there. So he's the one, Raymond, he's the one who was talking about how he hasn't declared support for Mr. Mahama.
He said
but
he
he
was
was
signing attendance list, and yet he happened to have been support list. I mean, this is deception. He's not excited by it at all.
So he wants the minority leadership to act.
Yeah, but the minority leader says that he has to stay in between the two. He cannot take sides.
Interesting one there. The BBC also carries the Zimbabwe election. International calls for restraints. Charlie, we need to pray for Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Yeah, they are such a decisive moment, a very, very important moment in their history, and it looks like there's a threat of violence. So let's pray for Zimbabwe and keep them in mind.
I hope the African Union is putting in place plans. When the security architecture was put together, it was to signal some of these indications and move forward in a way that's more progressive, so that they can pick in, get in, and fix problems when the need arises. It's not interference. It cannot be interference. It's intervention.
But look at what we did at Gambia.
Yes, it's intervention, and it's
We didn't
prudent.
call it interference.
If you don't save lives, there'll be more trouble ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if we act like we did with Gambia, ECOWAS did with Gambia, I think everything should be fine. Don't you think so, Raymond?
I actually felt that ECOWAS was a bit laid back on Gambia, but really.
Oh, we sent in troops.
Yes, but it was too late for me. The engagement should have been done right from the beginning when we picked out the first signals. There was a lot of bureaucracy that forestalled a
But
proper
we also
engagement
need to be
from day
careful
one.
in
Yes,
things
I
like
agree,
this, because
but
international
we have moved
diplomatic
from
relations.
Non-interference to non-intervention.
Anyway, let's move on now. The BBC News at 7 comes up next, but remember, you need to stay with us on the Super Morning Show today. We'll be delving into the banking sector with all the analysis that you need. Sydney Casely Hayford is joining us. Ken Thompson of Dalex Finance is joining us, and we are working on a number of experts with deep knowledge in the sector to educate us on what has happened from yesterday. And look forward, of course, we'll also be visiting the branches of these 5 banks, 5 former banks, which are now consolidated into one. A special good morning to James Ibo White. Uncle Ibo.
When they say that, it confuses people.
Uncle Ibo White.
Yes.
A special good morning to him. He always looks amazing in his suits. Yeah, we'll take these messages. We'll be back with the BBC News at 7.
This was Kwame's life before Interplast in Green Irrigation.